Good morning, everyone. This is Diane. I am going to work some more on the glue books, and I'm going to bring you along so we can do a start to finish on how to put glue books together. We did the covers yesterday, and I'll show you the finished. You did get to see this one completed, but I'll show you the other two. But first, I want to show you these pocket envelopes that I made just for fun today. I had saved a bunch of videos from Dee Dee Farrago. I guess that's how you pronounce her name. She did a Don't Freak Out Before Christmas series starting in July, and I don't even know how many videos are in the series. But I didn't necessarily want to make them for Christmas, but I figured I would save them and then just create them with other scraps. So these are made with scraps of paper, and they're just window envelopes that you get in the mail. And I will link her video below, so I'm not going to demonstrate how to make these, but I just wanted to show them, and they're all made with scraps. And they have a pocket here where the envelope opens. It had a little, here it is, a little paper to tuck in there, and then behind it where it's folded up. And there's a pocket there where the envelope itself was open. And then as you glue it on, you can leave it open on the side or on the top to put something else in. This was obviously a wider envelope, and it's open on this side, I think. Yeah, it's open over here. So it doesn't really matter which side the opening is on. Excuse me. So that's just one, the very first of her videos, and I don't know what else is coming up in them, so that was something fun. Maybe I'll keep showing them to you as I make them. So, on to the glue books. This is the one we did yesterday with the decorator fabric and this pleated twill, and I think, is this the one I did, or was it already completed? Oh, I did this one on camera because I needed to patch up where I had cut a slit here. I mistakenly started cutting off this gorgeous spine before I caught myself, because I knew I wanted to keep the spine. So I just did the spine with the chipboard like I always do, and Tyvek, and then fabric, and I added some trim. And then on the outside I just glued this piece of kind of like a bark cloth fabric just to cover up where the slit was, and another little patch of the patchwork piece just for more decoration. All of them ended up with a piece of the little 1.5 inch doily pieces that I had. And this was the other one that I did. I did this off camera, and I used a piece of the patchwork. It's similar to that one. Vintage patchwork pieces. I had to sew these two squares together so that I could have a piece long enough. And that's a piece of vintage fabric inside. This one I will keep the end paper. This one will keep the end paper, and this one I will cover. Might as well do that right now, right? I didn't pick out paper for it though. Let's see what I have for paper. Oh, I bumped my tray into my ink stand. Want something that'll blend well with that. I think that would be fun, but that's not big enough. Have to look at something else. This doesn't have the right paper. This one's almost empty. This one could work. Is it big enough for both? Maybe just barely. I only have one of the ones that I want, one sheet. Well, they don't have to match. These are the same color. I'll look for the pencil mark because it's on the darker part. So it's just a little over 6 1/4. So it didn't take much more than half a sheet, but I'm more comfortable with that extra 1/4 of an inch. And this is just over 9 1/2. I wrote in pencil right here the size of the papers I was cutting. All 4 of these books are slightly different. This was only, that pin is stuck to me because it was in my glue bottle. This was only 1/2 an inch taller for the papers, and the other measurements, everything else was the same than the book I did previously, which is not going in my shop. It's for somebody else. So I haven't even shown that one. But the 3 that I'm showing are going in my shop. So I wrote that in pencil, but I knew I was going to cover it with paper anyway. So as I was saying, they're all different sizes, so I want to make sure I'm remembering what size I want to cut my papers. So I'm only cutting the papers for each book one at a time, and that helps too. Some of the papers I don't have to cut though. I just fold them and they would fit in any of the journals because they're smaller. And I don't need to put a trim or anything here because the paper covers up the raw edge of the fabric. My dryer's done. It's going to have to wait. Alright, so this is the one I was cutting papers for. So let's work on that. I want to make sure I have enough papers. I have cut these. So I took some heavier cardstock, the pattern paper I should say, and cut it to the right size. And then I took the cutoff pieces and cut them to the right height and sewed them to the edge of one of the edges of the paper so that they would be wide enough. You can have a paper that is smaller than your other papers at the beginning of your signature, and I've done that, and it's a really fun look. You can see behind it. But for some reason I usually like to have a full-size paper on the front of the signature. So I have those 3 pieces. I have some calendar pages. These I just folded. This one I took the full page and trimmed it and refolded it. This is magazine pages and book pages. Got a lot of book pages and stuff. This is actually the cover from the sketch pad. This is just a printable that didn't come out right, so I stuck that in there. I've got some wallpaper pieces cut, and these are going to be for some of the other journals too. I just was preparing papers, and then just a couple decorative papers that came out of Somerset magazine, the artist papers, and just a scrapbook paper. So I'm gonna try to make cut some bigger papers too. What was I gonna do? What am I missing? Oh, I want to do some envelopes, and these are a mess, so I have to trim them up better. And this one's cute. It has 3 little windows right there in addition to the big window. So most of the envelopes I'm just opening up, so they're not envelopes anymore. They're just pages. But they have the window, so you could, when you're doing your glue book, you could glue something that will look fun behind that window. So I think I will open that up. Because if I fold it into the signature, it'll kind of ruin the effect of the windows. Would make it, well, those little windows would be intact. But we're going to open it. So it'll go in as a page like that. And one more. I have these very big Currier and Ives calendar pages. I was debating on whether I wanted to use them because it's for a glue book and you're going to cover up trying to figure out how to get them out off of this. Okay, just pull it out. And I kind of hate the idea of covering the Currier and Ives images. So this is really big. You see, this page is big, and then it's connected to another page of the same size. So I love these for my big journals. So I think, let's see, there's a Currier and Ives picture on the back of every calendar piece. So I might as well do one, right? It's just too big to fit on my cutter. I was hoping I could tear it easily. It's hard enough doing these big pages without trying to do it on camera. So I'm not cutting it straight. I'm going to have to even that up. I'll fold it. That'll make it easier to handle. And I need the page to be no more than 6.5 inches wide, folded, 13 inches in total. And that pretty much takes the margin off, so that's not bad. And then the height will be 9.5 inches. So I'll trim off the margin and then see where we're at. 9.5 inches. Oh, that just takes off a little bit more, so that's good. And of course, if you have a really big page, you can fold it on the sides or fold up a pocket. So there, this will be a page in the book. I've got lots of calendar pages. I've got these other pages. I have this, let me get stuff out of my way. I have this box where I put larger pages for when I'm doing a big book. I can just go to this box and find some big pages. And a lot of these I don't want to put in glue books because I don't want them to have to be glued over, but some of them are fine for that. That would be fine. This is a big page from a vintage magazine. That would be okay. These are just index pages, so they would be fine. And this red engineer's paper. Oh, I had some of this paper too, which are patterns for woodworking or handyman projects. And this is a craft pattern. That's a thin paper, but that doesn't really matter in a glue book because as you glue things to it, it makes it sturdy. And some of these pages are good. Let's just prep a few of these. So this is the big magazine page. And if I leave it like that, let's see, 6.5. I'm going to cut this side down to 6 inches. And then I'll fold this side in. So now we'll have a little flap you can glue onto, and then I will trim it down to the 9.5 inches for the height. And I will have to reinforce it here where the staples tore. There's still a staple in here. So I will glue a strip of paper down there to reinforce it. This came out of a book about keeping family records. So the paper is nice and sturdy. I'll just trim off the rough edges where it was torn out of the book. I'll have a few of those for the glue books. It's nice they have lines. You could actually do some journaling in your glue book or just cover them up with images. And they have the nice brown and white, almost like etching type of drawings. And you could actually leave, like collage around them and leave parts of them visible if you wanted to. I'll do one more set, probably more than we need. This is for all 3 journals. Okay, I have a piece of this. Let's see how big this book is. I would need these pages to be 9 3/4. That just about does it right there. I'll just trim off a tiny bit. And they would need to be about 7 inches wide. So this, I didn't realize it was cut in half already. I'll put this in a smaller book. Let's try this one. I know I'm supposed to be doing pages for that book, but I just want to show how I would make pages work for the bigger books. So this is wide enough, I think. I'm going to cut it to 7 inches. And I'll have these other pieces to play with. And 9 3/4 inches high. So this is like a full-size page for that book. I'll put it right with that cover so it doesn't get mixed up and cut down to go in another book. And I'll do the same with this. Might as well take both of the really big pages for that really big book. So I'm putting about 11 pages in each signature. And hopefully that will give you lots of room to grow as you glue, because just gluing images onto all of those pages is going to really fatten up these books. This came off a roll of paper. If you're wondering where to find papers big enough, the big calendars work, and close to this time of year you might be able to find some calendars at a really good price, like after Christmas, maybe after the New Year. But I get some at Salvation Army pretty often. I think most of the ones I get from Salvation Army are charity ones. They benefit different charities, and I think that they once it's past the New Year, they donate their extra calendars to the Salvation Army, I think is how that happens. These are just large book pages, and so you saw that I don't want it to be too tall. 9.5, okay. I will sew pages together to make them big enough. You can use heavy wrapping paper. You can use wallpaper that is coated, like the vinyl coated wallpaper, or just the type that you can fold and sew into a book without it cracking. Large book pages like these, and even these are going to be smaller than needed. For height-wise, they should be pretty good, but they'll be a little narrower. So you can always sew something to the pages. I like to have a variety of sizes of pages in my books. I don't want them all to be just the right size. I like some to be smaller. So I'm gonna just see what we have here. I might be able to collate my signatures for this book now. So here's how I collate them. I put them into piles. I have envelopes there. I'll have book pages and calendar pages, and then I have miscellaneous type of pages. That one goes with, these go with the big brown book though, don't forget that. These could be miscellaneous pages. These could be book pages, but they're a different kind of book, so I'm going to add them to the miscellaneous pages. Magazine. Scrapbook. These were the artist papers from this Stampington Somerset Studio, but I'm going to count them as magazine pages. And then I have a variety of wallpapers here. This digital can go in miscellaneous and book pages. Lots of book pages. Magazine, calendars, and these are the scrapbook paper covers for each signature. So I'm just going to take one of my covers and start filling it up and count till I get to, these are book pages. I made 2 piles of, actually I added book pages to the scrapbook pile. Just going to fold these so they're all ready to go into the signature. I think I might have to cut these down a little bit in height. This is the glossary from a teddy bear book, and it was very big. Glossary and index. So since I have a lot of book pages, I'll throw one of those in pretty frequently. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't fold these up yet either. 6. 7. Some wallpaper in there. 8. 'Let's do our envelope. Not there. 9. 10. 11. So the window is on this really decorative page, which in the other book I put plain paper behind it because I want you to put something behind the window. So there's one. And I'm not trying to match up the order, the same order that I did. Just putting in 11 pages. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is wallpaper. 8, 9, 10, 11. This is calendar that's written all over, but you're going to glue all over that anyway. And fold these up so I don't have to keep stopping to do that. That's enough for the last signature anyway. Okay. I only had 2 magazine pages, so they're gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I do not embellish these pages at all. I just give you plain, a variety of kinds of paper. That's the fun of putting a glue book together. I can throw in any kind of paper, but then you're going to glue on them, and that's the embellishment for these pages. So that's all I have to do. I have these all put together and cut. I think I might have to trim a little bit, but then I will just sew these in, and I'll probably put a pocket on the back page so you can put images in. Let's do that. This is a start to finish project, so let's do that part. I'm just going to look for a scrap of either scrapbook paper or even wallpaper if it's nice and sturdy. I think this wallpaper would be fun. And I want it to be roomy enough for you to be able to put some images in until you get around to gluing them. Just a place for you to store some images. Just going to make sure the top is even. Just going to fold it over. And I don't want it to be that tall. What happened to my pencil? Sorry about that loud slap. I think that would be good. So cut it there. And I want to leave about 1/4 to 1/2 inch on this side. So I think all I have to do is fold this. Folded it a little bigger than that side, just because it was that big. Then all I have to do is glue it. And I don't really want to fold up the bottom, I don't think. Yeah, we might as well. We'll fold up the bottom. And then I'm just going to cut off that corner piece. And I'll cut it at a slight angle so that these don't interfere with each other as they fold. Like that. Then I just need a good strong glue to glue it down. Then you can glue something on there as a decoration if you want to. I'm using Fabri-Tac. I hope this is going to work. And we might as well put a label on it. I'm going to get my larger labels because this is a larger book. I think somebody sent me these in a Happy Mail, and I have to use them in larger books, but aren't they pretty? This one works well as far as the colors go. And then I'll talk a little bit about how I will sew them into the signature. I have a hard time doing that part on camera, the actual sewing, because of my vision. And I need new glasses. I just made an appointment to get my eyes checked. But it'll be after the first of the year. But even with glasses, I have poor vision. There. All right, so this spine is 2.5 inches. So I'm going to make a template for marking the holes for the spine and the signature. Just getting a piece of paper. And I'm going to cut it at 2.5 inches. And the height of my paper, which was 9.5, the tallest paper. And that will be my template. I have 3 signatures in mine, so this is how I do it. I think I might, in my regular journals, I might start trying to make them with 5 signatures with fewer pages in each signature to see how I like that. So I'm folding this in half vertically, and that will be where the center signature is. Since it's an odd number, you can fold it in half to get your center signature line. And since I'm only doing 3, I will fold each edge to meet that middle line, and that will create the line for the other signatures. Or you can use your ruler and measure. If you have 5 or 7 or whatever signatures, you just have to take a ruler and measure where you want your signatures to go. So I have my 3 vertical lines. Now I just need to have the holes where the stitches will go. So I'm folding it up this way in half, and now I have where the center stitch will be. And I do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. So that's the center stitch right there. Now I get my ruler. I use a zero center ruler. This is by X-Acto. Tim Holtz has one too. So this book is just a little over, this is not right. Yes, it is. It's fine. Okay. So if you're using a 0 center ruler, then these markings at either end should be the same where the paper meets, or the paper ends, I should say. So this ends at 4 3/4 for both of them. So my 0 is marked in the right spot. So I can make stitches at the 2-inch mark and the 4-inch mark. And those are my 5 stitches for one signature. And just move it up and mark 2 and 4 and 2 and 4. That wasn't really on the line. I usually get my face up close to do this part too. Okay, and then I mark a T, or I just write top, so that when I'm making holes in the spine and in the signatures, the top is always going the same way. Because if they're just slightly off, it makes a difference in how if you want your signatures to all end up even evenly lined up at the top and at the bottom. You need to mark that. All right, so now, oh, I gotta get my box. Wasn't prepared for this part. I didn't think I'd get this far today. This is my box that I use for sewing in signatures, and I need my pokey tool and my little Sharpie, or any kind of a pen with a tiny tip to fit through the holes. So I'm going to take my pokey tool, whatever pokey tool you have, and poke through the holes, and I wiggle a little bit to make the hole big enough for the pen tip to go through. I used to just lay this down and poke through it while it's lying there, but then the paper would shift, especially on the bigger books. So now I mark it. It's easier to keep the paper still while you mark it than it is to keep the paper still while you poke it. And the marks don't show after I sew the signatures in. And this is how I construct a cover for any journal. Most of my journals, if I use a hardcover book, this is how I do it for most of them. And this is how I do signatures for all my journals. So now this is centered in the spine. And it's the same distance from the top and the bottom. Because the spine is a little bit bigger because I cut this to match the size of the signatures. And this little Sharpie fine tip has a little point that will fit through the hole. I've also used other fine tip. It doesn't have to be a marker, but it has to be something that you can see on the fabric. So I just poke that through the hole, and it's not going through. Some of these dark spots on the fabric are going to be difficult. There, I can see those. Okay. Just got to make sure that it's going through the paper. Sometimes the hole you poked, the paper kind of just fills back in the hole, so you have to make sure that you've cleared the hole. Okay. Okay, I can see all the dots. And then some people use a big fat phone book or something and put this down and poke through it, but I don't have one. I live in a tiny town, and so even before cell phones, our phone books weren't big. And you could use other kinds of big books, but I just hold it up, make sure my fingers aren't in the way. I'm using my fingers to support the chipboard, so I'm not bending it too much, but they are definitely out of the way. There, now I have all the signature holes punched. And I'm going to stop the video here, and then I'll do another video showing sewing the signatures in. So come back for that video, and then we'll be done. I'll see you soon. Have a creative day. Bye-bye.